Good morning. I'm very pleased to share with you my policy agenda for 2016. As governor, I will be working to build healthy, vibrant communities that offer opportunities for all Oregonians to reach their full potential. A thriving Oregon must also be resilient. It must be able to sustain the well-being of both current and future generations. This is the vision that, working together, we will bring to life, starting with my 4 areas of focus for 2016. I will continue to work towards a seamless education system from cradle to career that delivers better outcomes, closes the opportunity gap, improves Oregon's high school graduation rate, prepares students for careers, and delivers the workforce that our Oregon businesses need. To make sure that all Oregonians may benefit from our recovering economy, I will continue efforts to achieve racial, gender, and economic equity. Although our economy is getting stronger, wages have not kept up with the rising costs of childcare, housing, and food. I will work to raise the minimum wage and find ways to make housing more affordable for working families struggling to make ends meet. In addition to making state government more accountable and transparent, I will make sure state government adds value to Oregon's overall economic enterprise. Sometimes this means just getting out of the way, particularly for Oregon small businesses. Our small businesses should have more black ink, less red tape. And lastly, in 2016, I will focus on preparedness. Through the work of the School Safety Task Force and my new Campus Safety Working Group, we will assess and strengthen the safety of Oregon schools and college campuses. I will also expand planning and preparation to improve our state's resiliency to seismic events and to the effects of climate change. Education, economy, equity, and preparedness. These are my priorities for the next year. I will use my executive authority to achieve some elements. Others will require legislative action in the February short session. Additionally, I plan to seek funds in the February session to offset costs incurred during the unlawful occupation of the Malheur Wildlife Refuge in Harney County. State officials, including me, have been asked by federal officials to limit our public comments to avoid escalating the situation, and I have complied. I would not want to do anything or say anything to compromise their efforts to resolve the situation. But I will say this. I've been paying very close attention to this situation, and I've been in regular contact with local officials in Burns. The situation is absolutely intolerable, and it must be resolved immediately. The very fabric of this community is being ripped apart. The residents of Harney County have been overlooked and underserved by federal officials' response thus far. I have conveyed these very grave concerns directly to our leaders at the highest levels of our government, to the U.S. Department of Justice and the White House. Federal authorities must move quickly to end the occupation and hold all of the wrongdoers accountable. This spectacle of lawlessness must end. And until Harney County is free of it, I will not stop insisting that federal officials enforce the law. Thank you. I would be happy to take a few questions.
Governor, why should taxpayers have to cover the cost of the occupation?
Great question. I have been in regular contact with the Harney County Judge, Steve Grasty. We estimate that would be costing roughly $100,000 a week, though the first week more expensive. I have asked us to scour the budget to make sure that we can have the resources at the state level to subsidize the costs for Harney County. And we'll be asking federal officials to reimburse the state for these costs.
One thing that your economic plan did Why have you selected not to address that?
Thank you. I appreciate the question. I don't think there's absolutely any question that we need additional revenue to make sure that we have adequate funding for our schools. We have just invested significantly in early childhood education and removing barriers for Oregon students to be able to attend Oregon schools. In order to continue maintaining these levels of programs, we need additional revenue. I have, in my 24 years in public service, have tackled a number of issues, and sometimes issues are not so easy as they seem, and I would argue that this is one of them. I've met with folks on both sides of this issue, and I have not yet reached a conclusion on IP 28.
Governor, where are we now with PERS? Now that the market has dropped like a rock, PERS board wants to maintain 7% investment, and we're not going to be able to do that without obviously some funds coming in to back that PERS fund up. Is that going to come from taxpayers?
Well, Mike, as you know, with the Morrow decision this last summer, the Oregon Supreme Court has substantially limited our options. We are looking for any viable legal solution and any viable that would result in significant financial savings. But as I mentioned, our options are extremely limited.
Governor, there's been pushback from the business community on your minimum wage proposal, also from advocates who still say they want to explore a ballot measure or two this fall. How much change to your proposal are you willing to accept as part of any legislative negotiations next month?
Well, we put that proposal together after having labor and business at the table, hoping to reach a compromise. So the proposal obviously includes significant input from both sides of the aisle. My concerns are these. I wanted to make sure that working families that are barely struggling to meet the cost of housing, food, and childcare could afford to meet their basic rental needs. And that's why I put this particular proposal together. It also, frankly, provides our Oregon businesses, particularly in our rural communities, with a glide path. Plenty of opportunity for planning and preparation as we gradually increase toward a $13.50 an hour minimum wage to 2022.
Good. But no changes, Governor. You're not willing to...
It's a legislative process. I think there's an opportunity for people to have their voices be heard. This is the proposal that I have on the table and I believe has broad support in the building.
Governor, we've heard that there may have been a tentative settlement agreement between the state and Oracle. Is that true? And if so, can you explain a little bit about that?
First, answer to your question, no. Obviously, the Attorney General in legal situations like these has the authority, the only authority to settle these types of matters. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Appreciate you joining me today.